charmed by the power of Ableton.
Yeah.
Sejam bem-vindos a mais um painel da Revista do Conference 2013. Tenho aqui do meu lado, meu nome é João Anzolin, eu tenho aqui do meu lado Gary Smith e Remko, Gorter. Gorter?
Gorter.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Os dois são... O Remko é holandês, o Gary é francês. Are you French?
No.
I forgot. British.
English, yeah.
British, yeah. But you lived in France.
Yeah. Who wouldn't, you know?
Pessoal, esse painel vai ser em inglês, ok? Quem quiser acompanhar em português, por favor, pode solicitar para o pessoal da equipe no fone de ouvido que tem a tradução simultânea, tá bom? Well, so let's start. Amsterdam Dance Event, it's already 18 years, that's it?
Yeah. It is, yeah.
96?
1996 it started.
Okay, explain us a little bit about the very beginning and about who exactly organizes this, because I know it's BUMA, or it's easy to BUMA institution from Dutch government or not, just to make things clear for the people to understand what exactly is ADE.
The short version, BUMA Culture, is like a daughter organization of BUMA Stemra, which is an authors collecting society. So basically,
Is it private or it's public?
It's a stichting,
yeah,
which is a very particular
no,
Dutch thing.
it's not commercial.
Not commercial, but from the government or
No,
private?
no.
Okay.
So basically, if your track is being played on television or radio, we will make sure that the artist gets the amount of money they need to get. So that's basically
Something like we have in Brazil called ECAD, something like that.
Yeah.
Is it related to performance rights? Do you collect from clubs also?
No, we have Sena for it.
For performance rights.
But no, for like if you are a DJ and playing in a club, then it's BUMA Stemra. It's kind of like difficult to explain. It's a lot of legal wise, but it's important to get your piece of the pie. Yeah.
And BUMA was in the beginning, it was BUMA's idea or no? Or it enters?
Well, yeah, BUMA Culture is like a music export office. So what we try to do is promote Dutch copyright, Dutch musicians, and basically ADE, once it started, it was like a platform to promote Dutch electronic artists. So that's basically the reason why it all started. And it started out as a small conference. I think it's like 300 people and 2 clubs. And in the first 2 years it was mainly licensing of music, which was being done there. And when there were like 3 organizers, like different organizers in the past, and once the current organizer, Richard, basically took over, things really got big.
When exactly does it get big? Because it started in '96, right? 96 it was a whole different world, and especially regarding electronic music generally. And started very small, it was growing, but when exactly it started like to boom? Because now it's the biggest conference in the world.
Yeah, basically it got big around the time that I joined the company, and it's not because of my
coincidence, of course.
No, it's not because of me, but I think it was 2005 where it really took off, and the Dutch artists are touring the world and really got like really a lot of publicity and media attention around it, and ADE also grew bigger. But yeah, in a way, ADE, like the guys Gesto, Ferry Corsten, they had their first international contracts and releases through ADE. So it's kind of like being a basis in the Dutch success as well. Yeah.
That was exactly my next question. Maybe Gary may help us with this. How does the society, the Dutch society and Dutch politics, how did they help, and they were always friendly with the idea?
Shall I take that one?
Yeah.
Well, it took us like a long journey. Especially in the Netherlands, we have a lot of big artists, but like the typical stigma of drugs and partying and troubles. It's like we had it and we still have it. We still have it. Once like sensation, I'm not quite sure whether you all know it, but when it takes place,
we have a sensation.
Yeah, you have, yeah. But when it takes place, it's like on a newspaper. It says like the sensation was good and only like 50 people got arrested. So that's like a police statement. But and on the culture pages of the newspaper, you can see like a spread with pictures and people partying, and like that's an amazing party. So that's still a thing we are facing. But yeah, in the beginning we did it by ourselves, and at some point when we also drew international people in, the local government in Amsterdam also stepped in, as it's like an important event for them to promote themselves as a city. And we do have some sort of funds in Holland, which we are trying to get money off to organize the whole event. We are a foundation, so we don't have anything commercially in us. And yeah, the first few years were hard, but at some point they stepped in, and yeah, we had like 3 years of funding for the event. And, yeah, we could do loads of stuff with.
And nowadays, what's the reality now regarding the Amsterdam society and the politicians? They really embrace ADE?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like interesting. You have Amsterdam, which is like a brand for the city, for promoting the city internationally, and ADE is like the premier event for them now. So we get funded by them, and not really in terms of money. We do get some money, but it's mostly in also like they have a really good international list of contacts. They help us with promoting the event even more, and they also have like in the city they have like poster areas and screens in the city, and also on Schiphol, on the airport, they have like screens above the baggage belts, and we could have like commercials on that through the local government. So it's more like a marketing value we get out of them.
Do they do the flags as well?
No, we do the flags, but they helped us in getting the permit. It took us 4 years. Yeah, so it's like really strange that a city, the other fact I wanted to point out is like economical spin-off of the ADE. It's being valued over 40 million euros, so that's really a lot. And we get like funding for from the local government, a few €100,000, but that's still nothing in comparison to what we bring to the city in terms of hotels, restaurants, coffee shops, of course. So yeah, it's still a small piece of the pie. And now there's in like the political government, the government of the Netherlands, they have like a new funding which supports like cultural arts, like fashion, design, and dance music wasn't part of that. So we made a lobby to make sure that it was. Actually, music wasn't in it as well. And it's kind of strange, because already at that moment the Dutch artists are going around the world, and well, so now that succeeded, so that's a good thing, but still they see it as a commercial product, and they see us as a commercial product as well, and we should be able to bring in the money ourselves, as there are, of course, a lot of effects that bring in the money for themselves, but yeah, for us it's kind of like different. We are still trying to make sure that everybody understands what like a platform we bring to the table and what it can mean for not only Dutch artists but also for like the international artists from all over the world.
You just mentioned lobby. Despite all this political situation we just explained us, do you have some specific like deputy senators? I don't know how does it work exactly in Netherlands, but do you have some politicians that are like on your side, specific guys that are like fight for?
It's not that many, but there are a few parties that really support the electronic music scene. Yeah.
Interesting. And looking through the history, we have cities like London or like Berlin recently that we may imagine that maybe the cities will be like the right cities to receive an event like this. In your opinion, why do you think that Amsterdam got it? You know, why did Amsterdam succeed? Even in Ibiza we have IMS in Ibiza, but it's far away from ADE. Why exactly Amsterdam?
Well, it has a lot to do with the history of Amsterdam and the electronic music within the city. It goes way back into the first discotheques were in Amsterdam, and basically the whole underground scene. And yeah, well, that took off. That's like a whole other story. But the history is really important. It's always been like a place where you can find electronic music, and yeah, that basically evolved into the city where there are so many clubs and bars and restaurants, like all within walking distance. And I think that's one of the strengths it has as a city. And we have 75 clubs joining the whole festival program. Sorry. And we also have another program during the daytime where like Pioneer, Newmar, Native Instruments do all kinds of gear workshops, product placements, presentations, etc. So those are also like 20. And we have 8 different conferences, and that's all in one city, and it's not all walkable, but it's like approachable. It's like maybe take one tram or bike if you really dare. But yeah.
And looking back again, what were the mistakes, you know, like the goals and the mistakes you did in the past years?
Hiring Gary.
Gary.
No.
Funny enough, there was one quite tough moment because the event was actually initiated by a woman called Maria Jimenez.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Maria Jimenez.
Ah, Jimenez.
Sorry, I got the accent wrong. But she was the person who kind of fought to get the money in the first place. But the problem was that she had a very narrow view of electronic music. She was into kind of semi-commercial, housey stuff, you know, and it's fine. But the event got labelled for being all about that. Limit cheesy, not cheesy, but still, it was like it was seen as a pretty narrow representation of the reality of electronic music. Quite rightly. And that was the woman who succeeded her had kind of the same view of and also had an agency that had an awful lot of artists that just happened to be in that mold, you know what I mean? So there was a definite conflict of interest there. I mean, and she didn't use the event. I mean, she did what she thought was a good job, but I mean, ultimately, really, she didn't do the event any favours. That is the truth. So by year 7, when Richard took over, we were limping. We were not in trouble, but I mean, it was nothing to do with the event you see today. Really not at all.
Any chance or any time people thought about like giving up or changing totally the
Well, yeah, Richard, I don't know the name of the person who said it to him, but there was like a guy who said to Richard, do you really think that electronic music will do something in the future? Shouldn't we stop with it?
No way.
Yeah. Well,
This was around which year?
I can't remember. I think it was before my time, so I guess somewhere late 1990s.
This would have been, I guess, around that time actually, because Richard took over 11 years ago. So that time the event was not perceived particularly well. It was seen as very narrow, and we still, even now, I mean, last year we had Matt Black from Cold Cut, Ninja Tune, etc., etc., and he kind of slightly patronisingly said, "Oh, actually, I like 4 on the floor." And I'm like, dude, it's about so much more than that. I mean, why are we inviting you for a start? You know, I mean, obviously we were interested. We actually invited him to do a keynote and like his view of the world. But he really, because we're kind of stuck with ADE. I'd much prefer for it to be AEE, but it's too late. You know, we're stuck with that brand. And that word, that middle word, dance, is a fucking albatross, to be honest with you. You know what I mean by that?
Exactly, but
yeah.
It's interesting that you just mentioned this. In your opinion, professional, like talking regarding ADE and personal, most of the people that goes to Amsterdam, of course, that it's a huge event and you have the daily program and you have the parties. But do you think that most of the people goes to try both, or to the business, or just to party? You know, because like we have the city that in Miami it's basically the party, and in Amsterdam, no, it's the opposite. It's like good business with good party.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I guess it's a bit of both sides. I know people that don't go out to the parties at all. They just go to the conference, have meetings every 15 minutes, and at the end of the day they take a beer and then go out and
Count that money.
count their money and maybe go to dinner with some
Go to the coffee shop and
go to the coffee shop. And I do know a lot of people that go out as well, or do go out. As we work with a lot of media partners, like 52, and amongst them are like Resident Advisor, DJ Mag, Mix Mag, Sirius XM. We work with Dance Paradise Radio, you know, that I guess Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
Yeah. And all those guys literally go out like until the morning, and you know, because it's a 5-day event. So for me, I usually have to like my own thing. At 3 o'clock in the night, I will go home. But then again, yeah, most artists, like the bigger names, are like playing later, so that's always like difficult. But I've seen, of course, a lot of artists already. So the next morning, it's always like, hey, did you see David Guetta? It was like amazing. And I'm like, yeah. No, but it's like, yeah, those are really long days we are having. But yeah, I think a lot of people still do both. But like the business side is like really the most important thing, where all the people come from the industry, from the world. But I think it's like 72 countries now.
Important strategic point was that one of the first things that Richard did to rejig things was to do, there used to be a small trade fair area where people had stands and stuff like that, which again was kind of not really serving any useful purpose. It was just, well, that's what you do, isn't it? You know, you're a B2B music event, you have to have people with stands. It's the old model. And he very bravely decided that that was irrelevant and turned the space that had been swallowed up by those stands into business lounges, business networking lounges. And that is one of the things that totally turbocharged ADE, because you're facilitating the making of deals and giving people every opportunity to meet other people and play them their music and sit around and chat and stuff like that. I mean, what percentage of the space in Phoenix is given over to business lounges? It's about 20, isn't it? Something like that, I guess.
No, I think there's even more.
Yeah, more.
Yeah.
And then the Dylan as well. I mean, outside there's another networking area, and they are full from the moment the doors open to the moment the doors close. They are absolutely, every table is full. Simple as that.
Do you have an idea about like how much money does it are involved in this, all this business? Like it's I don't know, 1 million euros, or you know, just in the event.
You mean in the industry or
Exactly.
within
Which is generated by the event.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody would tell you. You know, record labels aren't famous for their massive honesty about what they're earning and stuff, are they? Let's face it. But I think millions. Because the truth is, if you turn up there and you've got a good tune, you will sell it over and over again. Bam, bam,
If you have a
bam.
good project,
Yeah,
that's the place.
that's the place to do it. Absolutely.
Okay. As I mentioned before, regarding the IMS in Ibiza and winter in Miami, how do you see? Because you're probably it's not older, but it's the most traditional. And is there any ideas of some franchise, you know, doing other editions in other countries, or communicate with Miami or with Ibiza, or like you are over here now?
Yeah.
How does Amsterdam Dance Event looks like worldwide business, you know?
Well, yeah, we do know, of course, all the other conferences. We do go to a lot of them as well, and on certain levels we do collaborate as well. And I think if you look at the calendar of events that's taking place, it's like a good calendar at the point. Yeah, of course, we are always looking on what to do next, and see how we can make steps and grow, and maybe do additions over the world, whatever. We've done a few things in the past, like whether it would be like a cocktail hour, like a drink on WMC, the Winter Music Conference, or visit Rio Music Conferences, or go to Sonar in Barcelona, or whatever. We also did a few panels there as well, like do a little day program. Yeah, it could be of interest in the future to do that even more.
Because we listen and I read that last year's edition was absolutely booming, and started like to have problems of denying people, or
Oh, that's been for 3 years
exactly.
already. Yeah.
And how was exactly this year, and how do you think you can fix this? Is it possible to grow a little bit more, or you are reading the limit?
Yeah, I think we did an important thing on that, because one of the most primary reasons for a conference to be successful is like it has to be approachable. You have to go out and meet people and not get lost in the people. So and it can be really crowded already at the Felix, but we felt like if we move to a bigger venue, and the venue itself is like a monumental building, it's like really characteristic on the canals in Amsterdam, the famous canal. So it's like Amsterdam, and it's like a good size for the amount of people to be approachable. So we don't want to move it to a bigger venue. And at that point we were like, okay, how are we going to manage all the people? And then the event is still growing and people want to come. That's why we thought, okay, let's do dedicated sub-conferences. Like we now have 8 conferences that are focused on upcoming DJs and producers, where we do like all sorts of master classes, like also more fun things like in bed with DJ Chucky. Then it's just a bed on stage, and Chucky goes in and sit down and just talk about his career or whatever.
But people sit on the bed as well, round it.
People sit on the bed. It's like
Tell me a little bit, because we have like the DJ's cooking, and
Yeah.
then we have like the DJ playground, and we have like this bed. How exactly all these ideas, what exactly is going on with this alternative or non-traditional ways of conferences?
I think, foremost it's I guess Richard in his way of looking into things and making up and coming up with ideas. But then again, it's also Gary and Jonty who advise on the whole conference program.
It's you as well. It's a bit of, but it's true. It's a great team. There is not a weak link in that team. It really is. Everybody is totally in love with the event. It gives everything. We work our tits off, basically.
Set truck
There's
food
no
is really good.
Huh?
Set truck food is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but we in the past we also did bowling with professionals, like go to a bowling area and then drink beer and bowl just to have fun. It's like when you are going to a conference and you have meetings all day and you have panels and people are serious about the topics, and sometimes you have to do like smaller, lighter stuff to make it also like fun. It should be fun to be somewhere, not only business. So the fun factor is like a really important thing. For example, Richard comes up with an idea like, why not do like a thing with Paul Oakenfold and let him describe his life in records, like what was the record he was like inspired to start a career in the dance music, or at what point was there a certain track that made him change his career. So it's just like looking into a panel and then just flip it around and then make a fun idea out of it, which can also be interesting to others.
We try really hard every year to improve everything. It's a systematic process. Every year has to be better than the previous year.
And regarding this year, did the European and the worldwide crisis affect
we were scared of that, because at this point we have 75 clubs, and that was the last edition, and the year before we had 52, so there were like 23 new clubs wanting to participate. And the way it's been organized, the festival, it's like we have a program commission, and that basically looks at all the venues and the lineups and what's going on where, and decides on whether they could be allowed in the program or not. It's like a collaboration between the clubs and the programs. But yeah, at some point we were like scared, because last year the Ziggo Dome, which is like a new venue for 17,000 people in Amsterdam, opened, and there's also an area where
Excuse me? How many?
17,000.
17,000 people.
Yeah.
One venue.
It's like a big box. On the outside it's all LED screens, so the total building, and it's basically made for music. So they didn't look at the architecture for what are we going to do with it. No, it was first, okay, how do we create the best sound, and then building around it. So it's like an amazing stage. And we had Chucky playing there, and Headhunters, which is a hardstyle act from the Netherlands as well. But no, the point was is that we were scared of introducing the bigger venues could make that the smaller venues couldn't get the crowds anymore. But luckily that didn't happen at all. So
well, in fact, because from 2011 to 2012, the total number of visitors went up by 40,000. Right? That actually covered any potential battle between Ziggo and the smaller venues, because there was just such a huge jump in people coming. But the other thing which kind of makes the event not inflation-proof or crisis-proof, but makes it very solid, is the simple fact that it's in Amsterdam, which is a very easy place to get to from all over Europe. It's really easy, it's cheap. Absolutely, and you don't have to stay, there are loads of cheap hotels, and you can actually do ADE very cheaply, which obviously, especially for the more marginal label operations or whatever, makes it that much more attractive.
yeah, and another thing is also like the price, because in total there are 350 events taking place in 5 days in 75 clubs, and in total 1,700 artists. There's a competition, so you can't just ask like 50 euros for a ticket. So they always lower the price, because it's also a showcase, because all the media are there and they just want to play and release a new label or world tour from David Guetta or like whatever. It's like everything from a startup DJ to a big man DJ. Everybody is playing there, and yeah, I think tickets go up to like max 50 euros, and then it's like David Guetta at a 5,000 capacity club. But the most tickets are like in between free. I think there are still like 100 events almost free, and then the rest is like 5 to 15 euros. So it's kind of like affordable, and you could really see top DJs for that price. So.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. It's another kind of strategic thing in that, because I don't know quite how it started, but well, in fact, I think I do know how it started. We never were part of the process of booking the acts in the clubs. That was always done by the clubs themselves, which is initially why we only had 2 clubs, Paradiso, right?
Yeah.
And it grew a little bit each year as it was perceived that this was something which was kind of worth keeping an eye on. It wasn't seen as a great, huge thing. But the fact is that all the problems that especially Richard had in trying to expand the range of subgenres and stuff, and the number of clubs involved, these days is quite the opposite. We're fighting them off. It's a massive competition between them. We just kind of sit back and go, well, law of the jungle, dude.
Okay, and well, Gary was over here last year. I don't know if you
I
the
was
first
here,
time,
no.
but all this background and as the typical foreigner vision. How do you see like Brazilian moment right now and the Rio Music Conference? Like, what are you doing right and wrong in your opinion? Let me know your feelings about your thoughts and feelings about what's going on right now in Brazil.
Well, I think the Rio Music Conference made like I think it's the 3rd edition now, right?
5th.
Oh, it's
Yes.
not 5th, but they made a huge step over the years, and I think it's really on its way to become a really important platform for like Northern and Southern America, like Big North as well, because a lot of people are now really interested in South America. I think it's 3 or 4 years ago when we first met the guys from Rio Music Conference, and they came to ADE, and the year after we decided to focus on Brazil. So we had a few panels talking about Brazil. I can't really remember what speakers we had. But
You were there when you came?
No, I wasn't, but Warung guys were, Claudinho was, Anzolin.
I can't really remember, but so yeah, we did a focus on Brazil, and we were looking into doing a We Love Brazil party at ADE, which unfortunately didn't happen because of time. I guess it was like late summer already, and the event is in October, so it's like
The clubs have got all their lineups
Yeah,
right now,
exactly.
long before that.
no, but we still go along really well, and that's why I'm here, and we were invited, and I see it grow every year, and or at least it's my first time, but I hear Gary talking about it, enthusiasm, and my boss goes, and yeah, it's really taking a step.
We should be asking you for advice, because I mean, last year the RMC was 300 people. This year, over the 2 days, it's 2,000 people. That's an enormous growth, and I have a feeling that your podular approach, doing mini versions of RMC around the country, has really paid off. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, because it's a too big country, so
Sure, it's totally logical, but I mean, it's you know, well, not particularly here right now, but generally speaking, I mean, 2,000 people over 2 days as compared to 300 is an enormous growth.
True.
Brilliant.
And what can you expect, and what are you planning to this year's edition? I just saw that tickets are already starting to be on sale, and everything is on the way.
Hurry.
No, well, I didn't really tell you everything about all the sub-conferences we have, but we have a music and technology dedicated conference. We have a few things focused on discovering new talent. We have ADE University, which is basically a special program for like all the universities in Holland, where we trying to educate them and give them a great day, full of knowledge.
It's to be specific also, universities for people, the non-creative side, if you like, in the industry, is people who want to be publishers or record label heads, etc. Because I mean, obviously the artists, that's kind of taken care of, but we thought it was a really cool idea to have students who want to work, make the, turn the wheels of the industry and teach them how to do it, and get really cool people to talk to them and mentor them and stuff.
Yeah, so we had like Junkie XL last year, and Duncan Stutterheim, who is like the owner of IDT, who's organizing Sensation, of course. So yeah, that's really good. And we also do with IDT and Qdance. Qdance is like the hardstyle organization in the Netherlands. We do hard dance events, so that's basically an own conference within the ADE focused on the harder styles of dance music. We have ADE B Lab, which is a conference dedicated to VJs, visuals, and stage design. So, and that's like a really interesting thing, of course, because every year it's getting crazier and crazier with like fireworks and 3D systems and whatever. So
we had Heather Shaw, who did Emil Tobin's last tour, the Sound tour. Yeah.
Brazilian.
Yeah, I know. I love it. But she did all the 3D mapping that was traced over the sort of metal landscape that he created on the stage. She was amazing, and to say it was the first time, we were kind of lucky because there was already a standalone event called B-Lab, but this was a special AE B-Lab, and it was just round, it was brilliant, and they had the most amazing venue. It's got like the main room is about 60 by 60 meters, and it's got 9 big screens all around the walls.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do a projection, that is the place to do it. It's totally
it was
impressive.
like 500 people.
Yeah.
And same for hard dance events as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in the future, I guess we look at the business side, of course, expanding the sub-conferences even further, maintaining the position as where ADE is now. We are really always thinking of how can we service people that go to the conference, because they have to buy a plane ticket, a hotel, a registration, so they put a lot of money in it. How can we make it as good as it gets for them? So we really invest a lot of time and efforts in that, ranging from like an online database where you can look up who is attending and get in contact with them, a guide which lists all the contact details. Matchmaking dinners, like bringing specific groups of people together, cocktail hours, whatever. We always think of the client as the premier person. And for the rest, I already told you a bit about ADE Playground, which was the new thing we launched last year, and that's basically the start of something really big. It's now, we recognize it as like the third part of ADE, so it's like a conference, a festival, and a playground. A playground basically connects the festival at night to the daytime, because people are already in town and we want to catch them before they go to the coffee shop. So we just want to give them a great program as well during the day. So yeah, and as I said, it's like a pioneer masterclass to native instruments, but also more like focus on the art side of things and like the whole genre, but not the music in specific, like movies or like the design of flyers and posters, whatever. So basically everything that has to do with electronic music. And yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because yeah, it's been going for like festival and conference for many years, and this is like a new part where we can also attach brands to the event.
Tell me a little bit more about this playground, because one of the themes of Rio Music Conference is exactly what you call over here, like this creative economy. It's not the music, but maybe the design, fashion, everything that is related to the electronic music.
Sorry, what's your question?
You're just trying to improve this part of the conference, like
Or grow it.
Grow it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a way of extending the brand, the ADE brand, into the daytime, because yeah, there are a lot of people who are around, who are there primarily for the clubs at night. So suddenly they have a whole new world of possibilities in the daytime, whereas before they were just around, you know, as you say, in coffee shops or whatever, just hanging around waiting for the evening to kick off. But now we can engage with them time and time again throughout the day, all over town.
do a different approach.
Oh, yeah, different, but also adding a whole new layer to the brand. It sounds really pretentious.
Yeah, and I, well, as I said, it took us 4 years to get like flags everywhere in the city, like on the major squares, on the canals, on the bridges, everywhere. So the local government is now really helping the event to grow and make it more like a festival, because it's an indoor festival in a way, but we are now doing a lot more outdoor, like the ADE University conference. It's on the square, on the Leidse Square. So it's one of the main squares in Amsterdam. And we have a few other squares as well to do things with. So yeah, we are really looking into ways of doing something, whether it's like with brands or like doing an own event or whatever. Basically, at some point you are walking out of the central station, train station, and there's like a big AE pillar that says Dam Square that way, that club that way, AE playground that way. So really embrace the whole city and make it like a playground during the day, at night, and during the daytime as well, for like the professional side of the industry.
Very nice. Well, pessoal, a gente já está terminando aqui pelo horário. Alguém tem alguma pergunta a fazer? Ou Bruno, deixa eu dar o microfone.
I want to ask you, at what point do you think that ADE was responsible for guys like Chucky or Afrojack being so successful? Because I remember people coming from ADE saying these guys are the next big thing. But why, who are they? Whatever. They discover them. What?
I didn't know that.
You don't know? As a journalist, can you say something about that?
I mean, the fact is that, as Remko said initially, the event was set up as part of a sort of ongoing, long-term plan to promote Dutch artists. So we always are going to feature the up-and-coming. I mean, was it this last year that I did Nicky Romero?
Yes, I guess that she was talking about maybe like these Dutch trends. Maybe the power that ADE has to really put the Dutch artists in a...
Yeah. Well, first of all, Chucky last year he played the Ziggo Dome, the 17,000 capacity venue, and he chose ADE to do that because all the media are there, all the industry people from all over the world are there. So if you want to launch a show or whatever concept, yeah, ADE is the place to do it. But in terms of like the musical influences Chucky and Afrojack both have, it also lies in the Netherlands as well, and goes back to their roots in Aruba and the Caribbean influences they have in the music, and yeah, that basically made a whole new genre. And yeah, that's really successful right now. America really blew up in America.
Yes, a lot of Brazilian DJs say they play Dutch house, you know.
Dutch
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
that's the term, yeah.
But there are 350 journalists at ADE, which is a lot, right? So, you know, anything that happens there that's good is going to be very widely reported.
Alguém tem mais alguma pergunta?
Tem uma pergunta, eu poderia. I have a question that
Acho que é melhor o
in
microfone.
English, but I would prefer to make it in Portuguese so my fellows can understand and show me João can translate that, right?
Tem uma pergunta que é a seguinte, o Remko é da área de marketing do evento, né? Eu queria entender se existe um departamento que cuida da conference, da realização da conference, mais focada no learning, na cultura propriamente dita. Pelo que eu entendi, que eu li alguns anos atrás, esse evento, um braço da Buma, né, que criou um departamento para fomentar a cultura. Eu queria entender se há uma divisão, há um departamento de marketing que procura viabilizar economicamente a realização do evento e se existe uma outra parte destinada ao learning dentro do evento que ele está representando aqui.
Você quer perguntar em inglês você mesmo para ele? Ou...
Eu não sei se seria muito complexo, eu posso te ajudar.
It's quite a long story.
Yeah. No, the main idea is that as a representative from ADE, from the marketing department, right? If there is any other department that takes care of the learning part of the conference.
Sorry?
How can I say that?
Like you are a marketing responsible of the conference. How exactly is the division? Like we have the marketing and then you have like the learning or the conferences, you know? How does it work inside ADE? Like, because you answers for marketing, but who exactly is the responsible
Because as I understand,
for the
ADE
conferences or for this education side, you know?
from the music, isn't that true that ADE was created because of vamos falar braço da Buma? Eu não sei qual que é a associação.
He's
The
trying
Buma
to, to ask is that Buma and ADE the same thing or the separate?
No, it's not the same thing. The point is that, as I understand, there is a culture department from Buma that, how can I say, to promote the culture, the music from Holland.
Music into the world, into people who doesn't know it.
Yeah, something like that. I would like to
If there's a
understand
department
if
of
ADE, is there any department that takes care of the culture, not only the market.
You mean the conference schedule and all that sort of stuff? And AD University and Next?
I think what he's trying to say is that if there's any department that takes care into pushing electronic music to people who doesn't listen to music in Amsterdam, is that what he's saying?
Something like that, because also as a marketing department,
You
you have
guys
to
try
make money, you have to watch for.
expand the
Oh,
electronic
well,
music in general?
yeah, we work with a lot of media partners, and those are like, of course, partners that promote us during the whole year. But we also invite and get a lot of applications from journalists, and you could really see that there are now, like the national newspaper, for example, in the Netherlands, or more like the uncommon media are also attending events, so it gets like attention on a broader scale as well. And basically, we feel it's kind of like our responsibility to stand up as an electronic music industry and make sure that it's being promoted that way as well. Like not only for our own causes, like an industry, we want to help it to raise the platform.
Eu acho que agora eu entendi como eu gostaria de perguntar para eles. I'm gonna start over. It will be easy. I would like to understand, to learn with your experience, how can you promote the music culture in an event like ADE? How do you deal with that? I want to learn with your experience. Can you
There is,
understand that?
sure, because we're funded partly by Buma, and they have an agenda to promote Dutch music globally. That obviously is part of our responsibility. I mean, when we're putting the conference program together, there kind of has to be a certain percentage of Dutch representation. That's on the panels, on the lineups in the clubs, etc., etc. And that comes directly from the fact that we are beholden unto the wider cultural interests of the Dutch music industry. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, part of it, yeah. But do you receive some kind of incoming from Buma or some funds to promote that?
Yeah.
And that money came from public performance, from music rights or whatever?
Yeah, that's from the right. So basically, we do something back for the industry. So we use the funds from the money we make.
So Buma, it's like they cut a share of the incomes and they promote the culture with that money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
fantastic.
you know, also, every collecting society has a certain amount of money that it can't actually directly identify who it belongs to. And that goes into what they call the grey box. And that grey box, generally speaking, as far as I understand it, is the source of initiatives like Buma Culture. It's money that, because they can't say, oh, it belongs to that person, it belongs to the whole creative community and is used appropriately, I think.
So that's fantastic. Each owner receive their cut, and also the whole community take advantage of that income.
É difícil para a gente entender porque lá funciona.
Sim, mas é um conceito que aqui no Brasil eu falo, né? Que a gente está muito distante disso. Lá, o ECAD deles recolhe de todos os utilizadores, um percentual é separado e é destinado para a promoção de eventos como a ADE ou como poderia ser o
This happens
RMC.
because for us Brazilians it's quite hard to understand how much you can apply so much money and invest it in culture, because in Brazil it goes. It just goes. You pay, and you don't see any payback from the government.
It took us 17 years or 18 years to accomplish. So yeah, it's like we do lobby with the government and
Eu fico
it's an
falando com os
important
painéis
thing.
direto.
Eu perguntei para ele pro lobby, acho que você não tinha chego ainda, eu perguntei para ele antes do lobby como é que funcionava, ele was just regarding the lobby.
I forgot what I was going to say. I'm tired. And I'm really red. I had too much to say.
No.
No? I don't look like a lobster.
Pessoal, alguma outra pergunta, última observação, tá tudo certo?
So you
Então,
did a
beleza.
great job with the project in Turkey. That was what I was going to say.
Thank you.
Finally got the Dutch culture to the mouths of Brazilian guys who say Dutch house.
Thanks.
I heard, can I say? I heard that I just arrived. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Para o microfone deles é o que
My name is Zero. I was in the last ADE, and I heard just in numbers that you got around 200,000 people only for ADE in Amsterdam. Besides the tourists that are already there, only for ADE. Is it true?
No,
That includes residents. The actual number of what we call rave tourists is what, around 45,000?
It's 40,000. Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
Still quite a big number.
That's where the whatever it is 40 million euros comes from. Because when you think of 40,000 people descending on a city, that's an awful lot of hotel beds occupied. That's an awful lot of meals eaten in restaurants. That's an awful lot of joints smoked in coffee shops, etc., etc., etc. You know.
Thanks.
Well, thanks a lot, Gary. Thanks a lot, Remko. Obrigado a todos vocês.
Don't leave, we're doing another one.